Thank you for your time. I know it's a bit late in the evening now. Let's run through a bit about your experience that you have right now. Besides in Asia as a head of purchasing for the APAC. How do you arrive in this role that you have? In the experience that you gained so far along the way.
Yeah, it's an interesting journey. So anyway, good evening to everybody who has kind of like tuned in. So my name is Henry Drieberg. So I'm based in Malaysia, work for DPDHL for the last 4.5 years. So my career pathway has been pretty interesting. So I started as a chemical engineer. Then somewhere along the line, when I was working in a manufacturing firm, I kind of like pivoted to the whole procurement thing, and I went through a few industry, through manufacturing, through oil and gas, and through banking line and to FMCG, and now I'm within the logistic industry. So I've taken on many roles throughout my career pathway, and now I'm currently the head of purchasing for Asia Pacific.
It's interesting pathway that you have gone through, and then with the experience in different categories and also industry will bring you much in-depth understanding on the depth of what procurement, also purchasing is required. So based on your experience so far, what the key experiences that you have noticed when implementing this new digital initiative with SourceSage, especially in Malaysia?
I think it's very interesting because one of the key struggles for purchasing, especially the PR to PO kind of transactional sub areas of overall procurement, is that we need a lot of time to pre-qualified vendors, like especially for big MNC. We need kind of like pre-qualify them. We need to check their financial background, how well is the reputation of the companies and all these things, and that kind of like take a lot of time. And we figure out that especially during the pandemic, when people want to buy things fast and probably want to buy things on an ad hoc basis, maybe one off, we are not able to catch up with the demands of the business user. For instance, they wanted something, and it's just taking too long, to go through the whole process that's actually meant to kind of like when things were slower, but now kind of like a instantaneous environment and era. So people wanted to be fast. So we kind of like think about what's next in the digitalization's journey. And working with SourceSage has been one of those key digital initiatives that we have already come a long way by partnering with you guys.
Yeah, that is the good insight that you have shared. The other thing also I was quite interested is the other speaker was saying, Mr. Chair, when it first started, was improving small value purchase experience. I think so that's the main key and the main driver that you are looking at the moment as a head of purchasing. The volume of the amount and the articles that go through. So does this really bring benefits into your side in terms of the total engagement for the employees there, and especially to the purchasing and procurement colleagues of yours?
Yep. Thanks, Terence, for asking that. Certainly. So what we did was that every year we used to actually send a purchasing survey to all our business users and colleagues, for them to kind of like give us a rating of what went well and what could be improved. And one of the things that kept repeating year after year is that they're saying that the response is not fast enough for the small purchasers. They say that, okay, I just want to buy something. And then over the last 5-6 years, with all these marketplaces app that's coming in, where they can kind of like, go into an app or website and order things so fast. So they kind of like start to expect the same thing from us as well. So it says that, can I get something faster? Can I do something quicker? And can I get those delivery as soon as those apps in the marketplace does?
Right.
So that has been kind of like the one of the key pain points that we are aware of, and until recently, we couldn't really resolve it in totality. So marketplace is one of those key things that kind of like converge, both the technology and the usage and the adoptions kind of like converge, and so give us the kind of like sweet spot and says, okay, this is the time we can actually implement quickly, doesn't have a high headcount cost for that the typical kind of like on-premise technology implementations that we typically have. So that really resolve a lot of things. And today, with all this implementation, we are hearing less and less of these kind of voices and says that okay, they think that we have a pretty good solution in place.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that matter as well, because like what you said is how is it? You have the processes, all right? You are standardizing the processes. We're not making anything new out of it. We're just making things faster, and also really streamlining the processes along the way to ensure that the speed, how is it, the colleagues that you surveyed will be brought to light in a more easier way and more convenient way for them to search and purchase things, below a certain value through the marketplaces as well.
I mean, to be fair, those processes are actually put in place to kind of like protect the company, from reputational risks and all these commercial risks, and it's comprehensive because it is meant to kind of even be applied to big companies where we have maybe millions of euro of dealings, right? So the process from that angle is all encompassing, but it's just that is it able to kind of like scale down and be simplified for the smaller scale purchases, the ad hoc purchases, those merchants that we don't need to actually really seize their P&L in that sense, because once they supply the product and we have a crowd performance, right? So if you go to like app, you can see all this rating. So even for a consumer or user personally, you want to buy something, you don't go and look at some things that is being claimed to be there. You kind of like see, okay, how many hundreds of thousands of this product is being already bought, and then how much is how is the rating, and that's the crowd power of it, because they already done the due diligence. You can't fake thousands of 5 stars rating in that sense. So because of that, so we can actually have a simpler way of verifying this thing. It's kind of like a shorthand to do it. And I think this is a great innovative platform.
Yes, thank you very much, Henry. To that, I think so. I don't want to put you in a very tight position. I think so. You somehow, I would say, our value proposition of SourceSage. When people ask why us, why we would choose us, what we're going to do, what we are good at. Normally at the end of the day, we will tell them it's convenience, because we integrate your marketplaces in one area. The usability, it's easy to use without any much complication. The price, like you said, you can compare all the prices, and at the end of the day, that you can benchmark against it, and fits the compliance and do and the overall due diligence and quality control. The fourth part most probably will be the vast selections from all the marketplaces that we have. From this point, why do you think, in your own opinion, that besides choosing, let's say, for example, a marketplace of A or B, like for example, Amazon, Lazada, or maybe other B people who can do this, why do you think that you give SourceSage a chance, to participate in this journey with you guys? Is there anything that is unique besides the value proposition?
Certainly. So I like SourceSage. I like you guys for one or two simple things. One is that you are not a marketplace player per se, right? You're actually a technology platform, and I like that part because it means that you are actually agnostic. It doesn't impair or bias against us what marketplaces players that we want to use, right? Be it some of the names that you have mentioned, because I also don't want to kind of like get into, you know,
Understood.
who are our kind of like preference, right? So whoever it is that we prefer, we can always go to SourceSage, to you guys, and that give us the maximum flexibility, because you are not the one dictating what kind of product is being shown up. It's really going to the original marketplace player, and I have only one technology to think about, which is SourceSage technology. And when I implement, like in Malaysia, in Singapore, in the various other 9 other countries in Asia Pacific, which you have already done so, we go country by country to look at who are the major players, right? Because every country has a unique maturity and investment that has been done by all these global companies. Some are actually locally, you know, Singapore is also have 1 or 2 that's locally grown marketplaces, and we can go and engage any one of them. We bring multiple. Minimally, I can see is like in DHL Asia Pacific, minimum we have 2 marketplaces in the same place. Maximum, there's actually 4 of them that, you know, a user can actually choose from, and it's all punch in. So the technology is that, you know, I don't really have to bother about what platform or the marketplaces are using, what kind of technology behind it. I just need to know that SourceSage have the same configuration and same integration to actually pull those data into our procurement environment, and that's the best part.
Understood. Yeah, that I do agree with you, because based on our journey with you in Malaysia, like I think so I shared with you a few times as well, the marketplaces that Breakout in marketplaces, the percentage of cost savings that you guys have, you know, in the Asia for Malaysia is around 16%, you know, and all these things, it's, how to say, the numbers tells you a lot. You know, even though that is, we have a very, I would say, competitive market out there in terms of pricing for different categories of how to say, areas of purchase, but having a, you know, cost saving around 16%, I think so is a very good feather in the cap for DHL also as well. And as for us, it proves that, you know, that our value proposition works, what we are doing works, and the only thing that we need to do is provide the knowledge and drive, you know, our people, and also how is it DHL employees also as well. Moving on to that, I was quite, I would say, I would like your suggestion, or maybe the challenges that you faced before, how you overcome it in terms of these obstacles whereby you need to digitalize, or maybe you need to guide the employees to first, I would say, try out this product, or try out this system, or try out these new processes, you know, that they can help them to improve their efficiency in terms of time, and also in terms of sourcing also as well. So what are the challenges that you face, and how do you overcome it in the beginning?
I think it's convincing some of stakeholders, especially the finance folk, who have a bit more cautious, because they're thinking like, okay, I wouldn't want my people to be able to buy everything, you know, that exists in the market, because and that's a fair concern, because not every single items in the marketplace is meant for corporate, it's meant for our operation. So but that kind of has been overcome through UNSPC code, right? Where you basically filter certain categories out that is not high possibility, is not meant for, you know, corporate use as well. And then we can always set certain limitation, certain approval limit in the system, that helps. So it's a bit more of giving the user an awareness, making sure that we have engaged the finance and IT people very early on, so that they have the buy-in to say, okay, I've reviewed the process, I've looked at the technology, it works, and there's actually no deviations from our current way of managing risk, right? So
Correct.
managing risk is one, and then we kind of like review, okay, how does the invoicing is going to work? How are we going to pay all these merchants from the marketplaces? So once those things are in place, is really a lot more communications. And obviously, having those feedback from the survey helps and says that, hey, your users are the ones who kind of like wanted this to happen. So that's kind of open the way for us to have that topics and discussion. And once we are able to kind of like alleviate those concerns by having all these, two-way communications, I think things are a lot more simpler to implement. So once we have that, then we can always set up like a, like a project team where we have sponsors who see, the reason for this, and then things just go on smoothly from there.
Understood. Thank you for your feedback. You brought up a very important thing, the risk management, and also look at the processes and the fraud analysis and all this. When how do you advise companies who want to embark on this journey? Because when you talk to tech people in a company, they will have a different benchmark and different KPI. They will see the processes, they will see certain things. When you talk to business people and finance, they will look at risk management, the compliance side, the user management, the fraud, the analysis, the spend, end-to-end PO, So how do you, advise companies that, want to embark in this journey, that they want to, streamline their processes, want to, put their test or experiment in this low value, digitize this low value part of their purchase experience? What is your advice in terms of maybe in terms of the standpoint of a procurement person, of a purchasing person, and how would you advise them?
Yeah, I believe the traditional or the conventional way of doing small spend purchasing is quite well known throughout the organization. So there's really typical pain points that is that kind of like everybody from the CFO to the MD will be aware, because they're kind of like, this is not big enough, but they hear noises from here and there over the years. So I think we need to have an overall, we should go as high as possible in the organization and engage the persons who kind of be able to see in totality and presents the benefits to each of the function that will be able to help them. So ease of buying, so that helps the operation guys, and then the controls over certain categories, that helps to answer the questions that the finance folks have. And then obviously, if you can show, what's the benefit to the end user as well, they will be the ones that who will be your cheerleader, so to speak, right? Even though certain people may have doubts, but because you have already answered all those things and you have people who are supporting you and cheerleading you, I think this makes the project much more easy to actually succeed. And obviously, all the companies in today's world is all going for digitalization. So I think this is actually one of the key digital initiative that is easy to implement, doesn't have high capex, and the result is actually easy to be seen. So I think with these few factors coming in, is not hard to make so-called proposals to the management of this company. So it's matter of, okay, maybe from a data and analysis point of view, how many of small spend one-off that is actually be able to go through marketplace. So after doing the analysis and says that, okay, we have a sizable amount of that every year that take up X number of hours or people's time, we can always make justifications to go for it.
Yes, I agree with you that I agree on your feedback as well, because what is important is always the tools to help procurement. Your tools could be your people who will handle this tactical purchasing, and also handle strategic sourcing in terms of looking at supplies at the right total cost, and also in terms of category management, whereby they use the market analysis, the in-depth knowledge, or the data-driven, from the entire category to see how is it evolving from time to time. So I do believe that if a company, a traditional company, wants to embark on this and they know that data plays a very important role to help them to move forward, they should give themselves a try, to test out, to improve their small value purchase experience, and then move on, to further streamline and to further, standardize their processes and to make it much more robust. And that's what I always stand for and believe. Henry, lastly, I would like to check with you, and on your side, in terms of the ROI in such platform. Sometimes people will ask, is this how to say justifiable in terms of certain things, certain amount of value, or in terms of volume, or in terms of in totality of spend. How do you look at it in terms of a holistic point of view?
I think there should be analysis done for the feasibility of it, and obviously, all of you can go and engage SourceSage to do a bit of a pre-work. From a spend perspective, you can take the last 24 months kind of purchases, look through.
Yep.
What's the average spend for those below a certain threshold, and then how many vendors you actually engage. And I believe it's always the same, right? So every industry and companies I've been to, there's always these 80-20 rules. You basically have your bottom 20% of the spend taken up by 80% of the number of vendors. So procurement knows this, right? So we are measuring on the minor. So a lot of our time is actually spent doing things that is on the tail spend.
Correct.
So you have the graph. The procurement folks here knows what I'm saying. You have the graph where it goes down the taper, and this is called the tail end of the spend, where nobody wants to look at them because it's time consuming, but the volume is actually there. The number of transactions there, so you can't ignore it. But you don't want to put so much time to it. So if you have that tail spend, and then you can kind of like flip it and says, okay, by logical extrapolation, how many percent of this can potentially goes through marketplace? I mean, the reality is like certain services you can't go, to marketplace to kind of get a replacement. So from there, with that kind of percentage, you can roughly gauge, okay, I'm going to save X amount of time and increase X amount of efficiency back to the organization. And I think that's the start of the conversations to have. And then obviously from there you can calculate the ROI. It's not about having less people to do the work, but having release people from doing that work that doesn't really have a high value, to actually move them into a higher value. You rather have the procurement guys, folks negotiating the multi-million-dollar, rather than trying to look through 50, 100 vendors that neither here nor there.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. That is why the time and justification has to be very important on the manpower cost itself. And we thank you very much that DHL trusts us, and first embark in Singapore and then move out to all the regions, and for Malaysia itself, when we first started also as well. It's terms of, I would say, relationship building, and also understanding the services that both parties can collaborate and also enhance together. So we thank you for your, trust and also the chance for us to prove ourselves, and also showing you that we can provide this cost savings, and releasing also the manpower to do how is it, jobs that are more urgent at task for a company itself in the terms of procurement center itself. So Henry, thank you very much. We are coming to the end of our session now. So thank you very much for joining us. My apologies again for being a bit late, in starting this webinar.
No problem. No, thanks, Terence. Thanks for having us.
So take care. All right, we shall meet again.
Yeah, certainly. All right. Thank you, and good evening, everybody.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Good evening. Bye.